Good afternoon. Tuesday, March 21st, 2023. I wrote another book. I'm retired, live in Vista, California. Decided to write a book about baseball again, my fourth baseball book. Baseball greatest offensive seasons of all time. I was curious, where do the baseball players who have been elected to the Baseball Hall of Fame, where do they rank according to their greatest offensive seasons of all time? I tried to find I have a lot of baseball books, tried to find if there's a ranking. I couldn't find it. So I decided to do my own ranking, looking up the stats. And the way I decided to do it is to take 12 offensive categories. Look at the stat of the individual ball player for one season, what they did in these 12 categories. Batting average, obviously. Runs scored, runs batted in, home runs, triples, doubles, singles. Slugging percentage, on base percentage, base on balls, total bases, and stolen bases. 12 categories. Who had the best offensive season of all time when you add up the numbers of the 12 categories? For example, the batting average, let's say they bat 300. So 300, and let's say they score 100 runs. That's 400. Let's say they drive in 100 runs batted in, 100 RBIs. So that's 500. Then you add 50 homers, that's 550, and so forth. And you go down the list and see what a total number is. And that's how I ranked them. What do you think of that? I'll show you how I did it. Chapter 1 in this book, I do the first 40, the top 40. Let's see. Yeah. Top 40 offensive seasons of all time by adding the 12 categories. Who's number one? And what year? Which ball player and what year? The Bambino, Babe Ruth, 1921 season. Listen to this. 378 average, 177 runs scored, 168 RBIs, 59 homers, 16 triples, 44 doubles, 85 singles, slugging 846, on base 512, base on balls 145, total bases 457, and stolen bases 17. What does the number add up to? 2,904. That's number one. I couldn't find anybody else that beat that number of all the Baseball Hall of Famers. And I looked at those who were not even in the Hall of Fame to see if anybody came close to 2,904. Nobody did. Babe Ruth, number one, the 1921 season. Now, I went through all 40 and added it all up, and these are the top 40. Obviously, in this video, I don't want to bore you with all the numbers, but you can look it up yourself. Number two, Babe Ruth, 2774. Okay, here's the top number. The top number is 2904, and I just listed all the categories with the numbers. It came to 2904. Number two, Babe Ruth, 2774 in 1923 season. See, I go through. Number 3, Babe Ruth, 1920 season, 2772. Number 4, Lou Gehrig, the 1927 season, he has a number of 2718. Number 5, Babe Ruth, 1927 season, 2690. That's the top 5. And Ruth is 4 times in the top 5. Number 6, Jimmy Fox, 1932 season, 2672. Number 7, Hugh Duffy, 1894 season, 2666. You see, as I go through the list, the number goes down. Started at 2904, and I'm at 2666. Follow me. Number 8, Rogers Hornsby, 1922 season, 2657. Number 9, Lou Gehrig, 2641, 1930 season. Number 10, Babe Ruth, 1924 season, 2639. Number 11, Babe Ruth, 1926 season, 2621. Number 12, Ted Williams, 1941 season, 2618. That was his best year. Number 13, Hack Wilson, 2609, 1930 season. Number 14, Babe Ruth, 1930 season, 2598. 15, Roger Hornsby, 1925 season, 2596. 16, Chuck Klein, 1930 season, 2590. 17, Lou Gehrig, 1936 season, 2589. 18, Babe Ruth, 1931 season, 2585. Number 19, Lou Gehrig, 1934 season, 2565. Number 20, Lou Gehrig again, 1931 season, 2552. So that's the top 20. So in the top 20, you have Ruth many times, and you have Lou Gehrig multiple times. You have a Jimmy Fox. You have Hugh Duffy, Rogers Hornsby, and Ted Williams, Hack Wilson, and Chuck Klein. They all get in the top 20. Here's 21 through 40. Roger Hornsby, 21, 1929 season, 2550. 22, Jimmy Fox, 1938 season, 2548. 23, Stan Musial, best season, 1948, 2539. 24, Larry Walker. How about this? All the players I've been mentioning have been old school before 1950. But Larry Walker cracks it at number 24, 1999 season, 2539. He had a year. 25. 1924 season for Roger Hornsby, 2536. 26, Ty Cobb, first one for him. 1911, his best year, 2523. Batted 420 that year. Whew. 27, Ted Williams, 1949 season, 2517. 28, Jimmy Fox, 1933 season, 2501. 29, Babe Ruth, 1928 season, 2498. 30, George Sisler, first showing, his best year, 1920 season, 2491. 31, Al Simmons, first time for him, 1930 season, 2480. 32, Mickey Mantle, 1956, his best year, 2470. 33, Hank Greenberg, 1937 season, 2469. 34, Lou Gehrig, 1937 season, 2459. 35, Ted Williams, 1942 season, 2453. 36, Bill Terry, first time for him, 1930 season, 24.51. 37, Joe DiMaggio, first time for him, 1937 season, 24.49, his best year. 38, Lou Gehrig, 1928 season, 24.48. 39, Ted Williams, 1946 season, 24.46. And number 40, Roger Hornsby, 1921 season, 24.37. So I just listed the top 40. If you want to know the best offensive seasons of all time, I just listed them. Did you know that Babe Ruth in the top 40, 9 times? Lou Gehrig, 7 times. Roger Hornsby, 5. Ted Williams, 4 times. Jimmy Fox, 3 times. Then you have, let's see, we've got Hugh Duffy's in there. Hack Wilson, Chuck Klein, Stan Musial, Larry Walker, Ty Cobb, George Sisler, Al Simmons, Mickey Mantle, Hank Greenberg. What do you think? Those are the top 40 offensive seasons of all time. And that just shows you how great a ball player Babe Ruth was, Lou Gehrig, Ted Williams, Roger Hornsby. Because they have multiple entries of having the best offensive season in 12 categories by adding up all the numbers. How about Hugh Duffy as number 7? You want to hear his season? 1894. 440 batting average, 160 runs scored, 145 runs batted in, 18 home runs, 16 triples, 51 doubles, 152 singles, 694 slugging, on base 502, base on balls 66, total bases 374, and stolen bases 48. Gives him 2666. He comes in number 7. Remember, the top number was 2904. And the last number in number 40 was 2437. Okay, what do you think of that? So this is the book that I wrote. I did a lot of research. It was a lot of fun doing it, researching it. My next video, I'm going to go 41 through 80. Now you may say, come on, you're going to give us too many numbers. I'm doing it to prove a point that you can tell where a ball player ranks as far as offensive seasons. Where do they rank? Aren't you curious to know that? Who are the greatest ball players of all time? One way to find out, you can have the eye test, and you can have their career stats, but you can look at their individual year and how they performed across the board in 12 categories. What do you think? That's what I'm interested to find out. So my next video will be 41 to 80, and then listen to this. I had a cutoff number. I got 477 offensive seasons, but where did I cut it off? I'll tell you where I cut it off. I cut it at the number 2,000. If you add up the 12 categories, 2,000 was the cutoff number, because a lot of players are in the 1900s, 1800s, 1700 when you add up the 12 categories. It's just too many. I would have had 1,000, maybe 2,000 if you listed every single offensive season of every single ball player of all time. Now, this ranks the numbers 1 through 40 are Hall of Fame players. I have a chapter on those who are not in the Hall of Fame. And so I list their 12 categories and see where they ended up. I will get into that in another video, but I titled the chapter, "What About These Guys?" Let's see, where do I have it? I have it over here. I'll look up the page number. I say, let's see, here it is. .477. I do chapter, what about these players? Yeah. Chapter 19, 155, page 155 in my book. I list those who are not in the Hall of Fame. You may be curious, what were their total number after 12 categories? And so I get into them. You know who's number one on that one? I'll give you a hint. Barry Bonds. He came in with a number of 2729. Now, Babe Ruth has the record, 2904, as far as adding up the 12 categories. But since Barry Bonds is not in the Hall of Fame, I couldn't put him in the top 40 because my top 147 offensive seasons, those are strictly those who made the Hall of Fame. But I have a chapter on those who did not make the Hall of Fame, and I came up with 112 other players who are not in the Hall of Fame who had excellent offensive seasons. And I cut that number off at 2,000 also. There's 112 of them. Barry Bonds was number one, 2729. And then I'll go through that list when we get to that chapter. Tip O'Neill is number 2, Todd Helson 3, Babe Herman 4, and Sammy Sosa 5. I'll reveal those numbers in another video. But this first video on this book, Best Offensive Seasons of All Time, available on Amazon if you're curious. The top 40, I just revealed them all. What do you think? Next video, offensive seasons ranked 41 through 80. And then I'm going to go all the way through 477. Then I get into pitching. I rank the top pitchers' offensive seasons of all time. That was interesting. Then I do some analysis on particular years that were special. And then I've got something interesting I do also later in this book. And that is record-setting seasons, the records. And then I do special years, superior seasons, so forth. You know, in retirement, I'll give you a hint. Don't just sit around in a rocking chair and do nothing. Find out a hobby, find out what your passion is, and pursue it. I like baseball, and I'm analyzing baseball. These are my opinions, but the stats are according to baseballreference.com and baseball books if you find them. You can find the stats, and that's what I did. Talk to you later. I'm out.